Good afternoon, everyone. We're here on the opening of our football podcast. The show is called Football Insight. I'm Cal Blankenau from the beautiful island of Bermuda with my host, Mr. Vernon Springer of Antigua. And we are here with none other than Mr. Chris Anderson of the Islands Cup Open. Before we start talking about the Islands Cup Open, let's talk about who is going to be part of this magnificent venture. Names being mentioned such as Samuel Eto'o, Sebastian Veron, Yaya Toure, and many more, such as Dwight York, who we all know have taken Trinidad and Tobago to the World Cup, and the one and only player of Manchester United. So without further ado, my co-host, Mr. Vernon Springer, and we are going to move directly to Mr. Chris Anderson, who is the lead organizer behind this as the chairman of the Islands Cup Open. Chris, welcome.
Welcome. It's a beautiful evening to sit here and communicate with basically, Mr. Springer and yourself out of Bermuda. And this is fantastic. I should have had my friend on with me, Mr. Clyde Best from Bermuda. How is he doing these days?
Mr. Best is doing fine. You know, Mr. Best is a legend, so he is always going to be taken care of. Great man.
Nice. He's also part of this project as well. As a matter of fact, he's the original, the first ambassador for the project since we started a few years ago. So we're looking forward to having him on board.
Well, how did you meet Clyde?
Clyde basically was my skipper at Toronto Blizzard. Being the youngest rookie there at Toronto Blizzard in 1981, I went there. Clyde had just came there from Tampa Bay Rowdies, I believe. And instantly we kick it off. He was became my mentor and someone I looked up to because, as you know, Clyde was this smiling assassin, known as the smiling assassin with West Ham. And he was a gentleman. His nickname at the time was Big Daddy. And I remember him first day being introduced to him, and he said, where are you from? I said, I'm from Trinidad. He said, yeah, I could hear the accent. Okay, I'm your big brother. And he looked after me until, we depart ways from Toronto Blizzard. But he was a giant. Respect him, always liked him, and he always looked up for me.
Well, Chris, in those days, a player from Bermuda, Chris Anderson from Trinidad and Tobago, and this young guy walks up to you and says, I'm going to look after you. And then you in your back of your mind like, Bermuda, he's going to look after me. How you rated, how the relationship went on? What you learned from it, from Clyde?
Well, I mean, Clyde came in as Clyde was a superstar. He was, the big guy, the guy that basically, took charge. So when you're a rookie like me, you just came from Trinidad and, you're thrown out there to the wolves to play with some of the biggest stars, guys that, Jimmy Nicholl from Ireland, Clyde Best. You had Joe Mosono, who was, the prince of South Africa. And I've never seen anybody play the game as the way I saw both Clyde and Joe Mosono play the game. And you had Ace Netzelenge. But Clyde, was different. He stood out. He was a leader, and he look out for his players, and especially myself. I remember I was on the reserve team, and we were playing a reserve game. Clyde was just coming out of injury, so he was with the reserve teams because that's how it worked in those days. If you're injured, you're on the reserve team. And actually, I was there on the reserve team for quite a while. And that particular game was thunder and lightning and stuff, and they were thinking about canceling the game, and for some reason the lightning went off, but the thunder was still there and raining. And Clyde said, "You got one chance. This is it. Show them what you got." And I remember going up and doing a bicycle kick, and I missed the ball. And he came by the side and he said, "Don't worry about it. Just keep going. Just keep going." And at the end of the game, and when the players was looked after by the manager and the list came out, and I saw my name on the list, and I said, wow, So, you got it. You guys like Clyde and those guys, in my view, they are legends. I mean, real legends in my book. I mean, there will never be another Clyde Best. Clyde Best is Clyde Best. And I have a lot of respect for him. I mean, his talent was phenomenal. You know, I mean, he suited his name, the Smiling Assassin. He had a beautiful smile, and you know, was deserving, because when he scored that goal, you know, all you see is his smile. You know, the teeth of Clyde Best. You know, so for me, it was a great influence on my life, and you know, starting of my career in the NASL as a rookie. And I'm sorry that I didn't get to play much longer under him, because those are guys that will help mold your career. You know, unfortunately, it didn't last long. You know, I was only there for one season, and then I was sent off to Italy, where I actually spent most of my short career. You know, because I only played professionally for a short time because of injury. I was totally injury bound. I mean, I spent 2 seasons recuperating from injury. So, you know, that was very unfortunate for me.
What were your high points during your career, just before Cal come in, as you look back?
A high point. I mean, just making it in the NASL as a rookie player when we had so much good talent, you know, far better talent than I myself from Trinidad. You had the Ron Laforet, the Sammy Noellen, you know, the Leroy Spans, and those, you know, Bert Neptune, and those guys that I thought was phenomenal, you know, God-given talent. And, you know, one of my teammates, Ron Laforet, always mentored me and always told me, he said, youth, you know, you're naturally good. You're a good player. It's, you know, it's unfortunate. I was always a small boned kid, but I was very fast. But, you know, some coaches didn't take too likely the fact that I never liked to go into the gym. It was one of my weak points. I never liked going to the gym. I never liked working, you know, with weights and all of that. I rely on my speed and my natural, you know, love for the game and the natural talent that I had. You know, I was a player that was very quick with the feet, you know, and I just like running and scoring goals. So that was my strength in the game. But just coming into the NASL as a rookie in 1981, for me, that was it for me, you know, and offer the kind of contract that I was offered. Come to find out that in 1981, I was rookie of the year in terms of salary offer. You know, so I was fortunate then.
Okay, so moving now to Italy, give us some brief background of how that evolved, because that's a very unusual story at that time to move from any league into Italy. So let us know how that happened.
Well, fortunately for me, I think it was fortunate by, you know, probably the draw of the luck. I mean, that's pretty much how I could say it, because, you know, I'm being a no name per se, and getting the opportunity to go with AS Bari, which was coached by then Franco Janic, was very, 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 you know, fortunate for me at that time. And Franco took me in with open arms, and I learned a lot from him. And again, injury was always my cry. But I had a good time there at Bari, and then I went off to Pisa, and afterwards I decided that you know, the stress on the injury and always trying to recoup from injury and, you know, rehab and all of that. You know, I just said, look, it's time for me to call it quit as a player, and I went in the front office, and that's where I learned the trade and getting the acumen for professional football, because Mr. Kanatani at the time and everyone knew my academic ability. You know, I was also attending the University of Toronto as a professional player as well, as an adult student. And I accomplished quite a lot academically. So I always had the acumen for business, you know. And my career, you know, just was pretty much a 4-year stint in Italy. And I spent more time on the injured list than on the playing field, unfortunately. But it was an experience, you know, and it put me in the league, you know, with the being, I think I'm one of the first Black players that was actually thrown to the wolves in Italy. You know, I've never experienced what I've seen some of the players now are experiencing in Europe, in Africa, in the UK, whatnot, with the banana peels and all of that, the racism and all of that. I never experienced that. Didn't know that it ever existed. But that probably, denied being naive during that period of time. But I've never experienced it. But Italy on the whole was good for me. A lot of good food, good lifestyle, good people. Surrounded with some of the big names. Beppe Rossena is one of the players that I always admire. He was on that Italian 82 World Cup team, Roberto Bettega, Paolo Rossi, Gentile, Bruno Conti, those guys, Graziani, a lot of beautiful guys.
Was there a language barrier?
I adapted quickly. Like I said, I'm so academically inclined, so language was never something I read and, I learned a lot. And, I just say I spoke poco Italiano, so I fit in perfectly. Yeah.
What about family? Because to go through all this, we need to be able to allow you to explain how important family is. Mom and dad, you've been thrown into as you said, into the deep end, gone to Italy. In those days, communication wasn't as what we have now. We on this platform, Be Live platform, we got Zoom, we got Facebook. What was your relationship with your family like? Young boy from Trinidad and Tobago in Italy.
Well, for me, I started everything very, very, very early in my life. Like I started university at 15 years of age in Trinidad and Tobago. Family, my great grandmother is who raised me, and I came to the city to live with my mother because I'm from the country area in Trinidad, from Blanchisseuse, and I came to the city to live with my mother, and before that, my great grandmother was my strength. So, she was getting young in age, and we tried to communicate, as much as I can. Did a lot of phone calls. I used to have large phone bills. So communicating with my great grandmother was important. My mother as well, but mostly my great grandmother. And she was actually living home in the city with my mother at the time. But I got married early. I got married early at the age of 17. And then, so I always had that my own family per se, outside of my parents, my own family. And I got divorced early too. So by the time I got to Italy, I was already divorced from that first wife. And my wife then in Italy, I got married again in Italy. And, it was important for me to have that support in Italy by myself, having that, not just relying on the strength from back home in Trinidad, but my own immediate family. And that did a lot for me. That helped me through. And if you know anything about me, is that I'm a guy who really, I like to keep myself to myself, but I'm staying focused. I don't get distracted. So I was never one of those players that had to be in the disco every night and have to be out partying and that kind of thing. I was always book oriented, so I was always reading and edifying myself on many levels. So I spent most of my time off the field, reading and writing, and I wrote a lot of poems in those days and that kind of thing. Trying prepare myself for the future after football.
When your body is challenged, it burns fuel and energy. Respond to every challenge with Altitude Sports Drink. It replenishes, restores, and prepares you for the next level. Altitude is uniquely formulated with an electrolyte blend and magnesium available in fruit punch, blue frost, and grape. Altitude. Raise your game.
Let me take this opportunity to say how delighted and excited I am to be part of the Island Cup as an ambassador. I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's a great initiative that will give our young footballers in the region an opportunity for them to highlight their product. So I'm really looking forward to it, which will hopefully happen next year. We know that we are going through some trial times at this particular time with COVID-19. Let me just take this opportunity to say to everyone globally to continue to stay as safe as you can. Also to continue to try and fulfill all the requirements which are on board for you to stay as safe as possible. God bless.
Now, when we're looking at the Island Cup Open, let's give us that feature. How did you get to this fantastic concept that's been around for a while in various stages, but even for someone from the Caribbean to actually have that big global insight to say we can compete, we can develop, we can brand something on our own. It shares a lot about your intrinsic passion for the game, but also your intellect. So tell us, how did you get to that point where you said we can do something ourselves?
Well, it's simple. I remember 1980. Oh, what is it? 1982, I think. All sporting disciplines in North America were on strike. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was 82. And I was attending University of Toronto at the time. I was doing my MBA. And my professor challenged me and said, well, you're a professional athlete. What do you think you can come up with a sports business model that can avoid these kind of, strikes in sports, various sports discipline or what have you? And I said, I'm not sure, but I'll try. He said, you do that, and I think you'll be able to graduate sooner. So I said, okay, you should be the top of my class. And I said, okay, and I keep writing. I put in pen to paper. I gotta tell you, there's so many different versions that I've thrown into the garbage. And one particular time, I remember traveling. I was already back in Italy. I used to travel back from Italy to Toronto. Those days in Italy, you used to play only on the weekends. So you would have, if you play this week, you play on a Saturday. Then next week you play on a Sunday. So I would leave and go after the game. I would leave the following day, get the Alitalia flight to Toronto, go on campus. Arrangement was made for me to train in Toronto, and then I would come back. So I have all these hours on the flights, to prepare myself for my lecture. And the idea came to me, but I remember that there was a concept that was put together by myself for Mr. Arthur Sweet for a professional league in Trinidad, which we call then the PSL. And I was involved in help, putting that together as a young kid. And I said, you know what? I don't know the name for this, but this is what I'm thinking can work, where one person can actually finance everything and manage everything, and that way you have very little conflicts. And it turned out to be what we call now the single entity concept. And kind of, you remember the cricket, you remember Kerry Packer. So if you remember Kerry Packer, it's a similar business model. The single entity concept. It's I don't think it's something that 100%, my idea. I think it's just the way it is structured. And I think I've structured it in a way where it becomes very viable, totally business. I mean, I see sports on the whole as a business venture. I don't see sport as sport. The problem is that we in the Caribbean just see sport as recreation, just see sport as sport. We don't see the business. We don't see the true ecosystem that is around football, and that's sad. So once I mastered that, putting the whole business model together, I decided that this should be something that should be geared towards helping develop Caribbean football. And with the same, Kerry Packer mindset, That is what I embarked upon. There's been some challenge because, anything new, people who don't understand it don't want it. And it's like, if it's not them, then, we're going to break it. They break things up before, you know, actually supporting it and letting it fly. Well, Kerry Packer went through that, and other people with other great ideas went through that. We see years. A lot of people look at the MLS now and say, well, look, hey, look at the MLS now. It's 25 plus years. Oh, they say, but you don't remember that it took 10 years for it to get off the ground. There's so many different tries. And we are very similar business model, the single entity concept. What is so different about Island Cup business model is that it is unique for developing the ecosystem of football for the Caribbean holistically. And if anybody is wise enough to understand, take the time to comprehend the business model, they will understand this is futuristic. This is the way to go. The European professional football model, for me, is absolute. You have 97, 98% of European football clubs is totally bankrupt. And you can't operate a business like that. So there's only few clubs that is financially viable to function. And you have all these big, financial gurus pumping money into it. But sooner or later, the bottom is going to drop off. The MLS, in my view, is the only viable business model in sports franchise. And I think everybody who have any business acumen will understand that sooner or later. And therefore, Island Cup is a future. You could make certain adjustments. You can tweak it, to facilitate certain areas and certain markets. But it is a business model that should be considered for the future of Caribbean football. You don't have to call it that.
Why was the affair, Chris, in the Caribbean? You have Canada, Mexico, United States of America organizing their own franchise leagues. But with the amount of talent coming out of the Caribbean, there was always this fearful thought process that we are following rather than leading. Did that motivate you to be able to continue your passion to execute this project?
Of course. I mean, one of the things, this, you know, Spring, that this is there, before my time. Guys who played the game before myself, the Steve Davis, the Everett Cummins, the, Archibald, Clyde Best, all the big names that played this game long before I did in the region. Everybody experienced, these type of, what we're experiencing now in Caribbean football, what the Trinidad players, the Jamaican players, other players in the Caribbean are experiencing now. It's nothing new, all you see is individuals get at the hem to administer the football. And in my view, has no acumen at all whatsoever in professional football. Don't have a clue, in understanding the ecosystem in professional football and what can be derived in professional football. Everybody is stuck on the FIFA and the CONCACAF and so forth and so forth. But we need more than that. We need people with the understanding of how to administer professional football. You cannot take a mason to do a plumbing job. You just can't. And it's unfortunate. We have a lot of professional players who retired from the game, and most very good players and what have you, but played the game but still never understood, what professional football is and how to really manage professional football. This is not a party shop operation. This is not an ice cream bar. This is not a nightclub. This football business is big business. And you wonder that we are failing the young players in the Caribbean because we are making them false and empty promises. Because I see now that the main focus now is to represent the national team and play for a national team. Well, that is good. That is great. But you have no sustainability in the sport. For example, this is one of the biggest things in the Caribbean that is my serious concern. You have governments investing in national stadiums. We don't need national stadiums in the Caribbean. We need sport-specific venues that can be more commercialized. That can basically to support. Look, what is the two biggest sports in the Caribbean? Cricket and football, right? And if they understand the viability of professional football, how it can help, it's just like the music industry. That is an economy on its own. How much money came out of the players that I had, that were very successful in Europe? Dwight York for one, Russell Latapi, okay? Just those two. The Caribbean, Trinidad particularly, haven't seen any revenue stream from them at all. One, they don't know how to engage, and Dwight York is a prince. Is a prince of football from the Caribbean. Okay, he have won everything. Okay, highest paid player to date. Okay, yet all he's known for being a Trinidadian, and the ecosystem around him as a professional player, Trinidad did not know, had no clue how to merge that revenue stream into Trinidad football. And so you have leaders in the football in the Caribbean that just don't have a clue, and you will continue to have that until they edify themselves or they get themselves involved in understanding what professional football is all about. And we don't, unless we invest. If you want to have professional football in the Caribbean, you have to invest in three things. You must have football-specific stadium. There is no country in the Caribbean that I know of that have a football-specific venue for professional football. I don't know of any. Do you know of any? Because I don't. So you need, because our challenge, divide by water. Our challenge is travel. That's our challenge. So one, you have to invest in a shuttle airline. Right? You have to invest in hotel facilitation. If you want to have professional football in the Caribbean, you have to set up an infrastructure that can be revenue oriented. You have to keep everything to yourself. You can't share the revenue. Have to be owned. So this is why Island Cup business model is ownership. We're going to own our own hotels, our own stadiums, our own hotels. This is our investment. You have to make an investment in order to develop professional football. You just can't invest into a schedule. A schedule, anybody can do that. It's to have the vision, the fortitude, and everything else that go in developing a business. And professional football is a business, and you have to see it that way.
When your body is challenged, it burns fuel and energy. Respond to every challenge with Altitude Sports Drink. It replenishes, restores, and prepares you for the next level. Altitude is uniquely formulated with an electrolyte blend and magnesium available in fruit punch, blue frost, and grape. Altitude. Raise your game.
Let me take this opportunity to say how delighted and excited I am to be part of the Island Cup as an ambassador. I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's a great initiative that will give our young footballers in the region an opportunity for them to highlight their product. So I'm really looking forward to it, which will hopefully happen next year. We know that we're going through some trial times at this particular time with COVID-19. Let me just take this opportunity to say to everyone globally to continue to stay as safe as you can. Also to continue to try and fulfill all the requirements which are on board for you to stay as safe as possible. God bless.
So if someone wants to invest in the Island Cup how would they go about it, and how much would it be to be part of a franchise?
Well, this is the thing. Our business model, at least for the first 5 years, we are not interested in that whatsoever. We are funding everything 100%. I've secured that funding already from one of the largest pension fund in the business, and we made a conscious decision that if we are to be successful in this, we have to be in control 100%. So there is no plans for, the only thing we do in a franchise is that we're bringing in celebrities to be co-owners of franchise, which is brand association. Okay, so they're trading their brand with us, and then in return we give them shares into the franchise because we are trying to build something here. But we are not interested in investors coming in to invest in the franchise in the business. We want to build this ourselves. We want to make that investment, and at the same time create an environment where young players see what is happening. And I don't think, look, in the Caribbean, what do you have? If you're not going into the MLS, if you're not fortunate enough to get into the MLS, and you don't have the caps to get into a European team, what do you do? What do you do? How do you play a trade? The idea of Island Cup is to use the legend players to help develop this and brand this to a level where, down the road we can decide what we're going to do next, and if we're going to make this a regular league. But we are not interested in being a league at this point. We are a tournament. It's entertainment, and it's to bring the awareness to the Caribbean. We have a lot of talent that retire very early in the game for one reason or the other, and get them back involved in the sport, get them back to give back, and at the same time being compensated. And we do great things by trying to nurture young players, and families who are set back in natural disasters, hurricanes, earthquakes. Look what happened in Haiti. This is what Island Cup is about, to create the opportunity to help, using our sportsmen to help the unfortunate.
Chris, expand a little bit more, because Football Insight is an education process, an education program. And so we want the viewers all around the world to understand the business of sports. The business of sports is $1 billion industry. And you went down the line there concerning ecosystem. Broaden that scope a little bit more so that at least folks can understand, especially in the Caribbean. And you made a very important point. The Caribbean has produced some finest sportsmen and women. The latest claim to fame would have to be Usain Bolt. We also see Elaine Thompson here, who is the 100 meters female world champion, Olympic champion. And we now hear the tussle between how Nike is treating her as compared to how American athletes are treated. You know the business of sports more than anybody else. The only real international sports person who was dominated and went outside of the reality of the big names was Usain Bolt, because Puma picked him up. But if he was with Nike, just like anybody else, or with Adidas, we all know that the Caribbean athletes don't get what they deserve. And there are a number of reasons, depending on who is your agent. So it's an education process. But you have always continued to say, hey, if the Caribbean athletes get the right representation and they create the right atmosphere, they can be on top of the world by earning, especially from their image rights, what they deserve.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I mean, I don't want to get into the dogfight with the different brands and what have you. I mean, business is business. Is like you said, is about management. But in specifically with, I want to stay specific with football and not expand on the other sporting arena, because I have little acumen in the track and field and those type of sports management, etc. Football is my specialty. I know for a fact that our players from the Caribbean, you look like a player like Dwight York in his prime. I mean, there was no reason why not to call him the smiling assassin, a replica name from Clyde Best, because that he was. Brilliant player on the pitch, great personality, great smile, nice kid. You know, I call him a kid still. Nice kid, nice personality. And no different from any other European, you know, players. As a matter of fact, in Man U in those days, yeah, I mean, it took you had three players. You had David Beckham, Dwight York, and Andy Cole. You know, it's as simple as that. But yet, Dwighty was not treated in the way that he should have, in my estimation, in terms of value. How many commercial endorsements you remember that Dwight had at that level? I mean, so the prejudice was always going to be there. I mean, coming from third world countries, we'll always be seen as, you know, okay, so you had a good game today. Okay, you had a good game the next day, and so forth and so forth. But nobody really, you know, very rare you get that real push out there for yourself. I mean, if you have an agent, European agent, and you had, you know, a Dwight York, for example, and you have look, take for example, I mean, I'd put Dwighty to match up against any one of those top European players that played in his tenure, and he was better than them on any given day. All right, and he wasn't treated the way that he should have been treated in my point of view, and it's very unfortunate. So, you know, I say that to say this, that we have to set up a mechanism in place, totally business, that we can look after our own. You know, charity begins at home and ends abroad. And this is what Island Cup is trying to do. Island Cup is trying to create that. Look, no, you can expect the neighbor to come and beautify your home for you when they have their home to beautify. You know, you live in the same neighborhood, you know, they want that bragging rights for themselves. You know, you know, it's as simple as that. And if we don't ascertain that type of you know, way of doing business, I think we are going to continue to be in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth place. I mean, it's sad. On any given day, I think any Jamaican player now and Trinidadian player now, when you look for pound, talent for talent, I don't see a player on the U.S. national team that is so far gone than a Trinidad player, far developed over a Jamaican player. Come on, it's all about the resources, the development, the discipline, you know, the commitment, etc., etc., etc. You have to remember that you have Mexico, you have USA, and now you have Canada. They're hosting the World Cup 2026. Where do you think the emphasis is going to be placed? We think emphasis is going to place on the Caribbean to diffuse the three the three musketeers, as I would say, the three musketeers in terms of bragging rights. You think that any serious development will be placed to help Caribbean countries so that they can come to surpass or be a serious threat to those three? I mean, come on. I mean, we have to be honest, and we have to. So the investment have to be made into ourselves in the Caribbean. I think the Caribbean Corporation should get involved, but hey, you can't blame them because you don't have a product. You know, we don't have a Caribbean well developed, well manicured, well, you know, brand of football, a brand, you know, in the Caribbean that we say investors will want to say, well, let me stand behind, let me make a serious investment, because we are not focused on that. We are just focused on playing a football schedule, you know, and it's sad. It's sad, and this is one of the things where Island Cup will make a big difference in. And again, I'm not competing. I'm not looking to compete. We are not looking to compete with anybody. We're just saying that we have a different view, have a different approach for the game. It's more commercialized. We want to bring more, you know, make the sport more commercialized in the Caribbean. And this is why it is not a Caribbean tournament. It is a global tournament that infused the Caribbean. And I want to emphasize on that because we have gone fast, you know, past that. You know, we have Espanola franchise, you know, Asian franchise, African franchise, you know, Caribbean franchise, North America franchise. We have a North Americana North. which, will include a lot of the veteran players that played in the MLS, played in Mexican League and other parts of Latin America, to participate in this tournament. And we are a short tournament. We're 12 weeks tournament per season. And we will do a winter, we'll do a summer, 6 weeks winter and a 12-week summer, to facilitate. There's so many legend players that's available, and is doing nothing with their time, most of them. Some of them are doing, various color commentary on European games and, Central America, South American games and what have you. But guys still want to play. When you're a competitor, you still want to play. You still want to play if you're fit enough. You still want to play. You still want to participate at this level. So, hence the reason why we have resort to that type of model and inclusion of those quality players that still has a big brand and can help sell this project, so that we can facilitate the younger players' vision in the Caribbean and help give them the kind of platform and assistance that they need to elevate their trade, on a more global level.
When your body is challenged, it burns fuel and energy. Respond to every challenge with Altitude Sports Drink. It replenishes, restores, and prepares you for the next level. Altitude is uniquely formulated with an electrolyte blend and magnesium available in fruit punch, blue frost, and grape. Altitude. Raise your game.
Let me take this opportunity to say how delighted and excited I am to be part of the Island Cup as an ambassador. I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's a great initiative that will give our young footballers in the region an opportunity for them to highlight their product. So I'm really looking forward to it, which will be hopefully happen next year. We know that we are going through some trial times at this particular time with COVID-19. Let me just take this opportunity to say to everyone globally to continue to stay as safe as you can. Also to continue to try and fulfill all the requirements which are on board for you to stay as safe as possible. God bless.
So what are the dates we're looking for the launch of the Island Cup? When can the general public be looking forward to seeing these events taking place from both entertainment and on-field football?
Well, we had a very rough 2021 with the pandemic, and we were scheduled to launch in 2021. That seemed very, very, very unlikely now, unfortunately. I was holding it, keep pushing and pushing and pushing for 2021, but it seems very unlikely that we're able to do for 2021. So we just, a couple of days ago, put our draft schedule for 2022 out. It will be final in about the next 7 to 10 days, and that will be known globally. There will be a major press conference with some of the big names that will participate soon. I believe that 2022 will be fascinating for Island Cup in the markets that we have chosen. And again, we're not looking, as I said, we are not looking to compete with any of the other football activities that is being done, that have to be done. But we will find our own niche in the market that we are welcoming and do something that is different. Look at the huge success that the CPL T20 had. And they don't have access. They don't have the star powers that we have, in terms of celebrity status, that following that we have in our program. So we think based on that, this will be a success. You have Dwight, who is looking forward to be a coach in it. He was not asked to play. He was asked to coach the Trinidad franchise. I think he's going to do phenomenal things with the caliber players that he will have, and it would be nice to see him, as a coach, and hopefully after 1 season, 2 seasons, people do take him serious as a coach with the acumen to coach, and he get a big job in the Premier Division or anywhere else, which is his dream, and I will support him on that because I think he deserves it. Russell Latapi, is the next one. He's engaged right now in a job, so it's available to him whenever the opening is there. He's welcome to come in. I think we're going to have a phenomenal 2020 season, which will kick off, scheduled to kick off June 4th at this moment in Asia. Why Asia? Because we've been offered, we have had a good offer for us to bring the project down. We felt that this is not a Caribbean project. It is a global project. So, having Asian franchise, having so many Southeast Asian players participating in this tournament, we saw the feasibility and the necessity to open there, host there, and then close in the Caribbean for the finals. Because in our tournament, we have 3 different championships. 3 different championships. We have the Play For Champions Cup. We have the Challenge 12, which is dealing with the 12 franchises. And then we have the Cup Winners' Cup. So the winner of the Play For will meet the winner of the Challenge 12 in a best-of-3 series, which never been done yet. You see that happening, best-of-6, best-of-7 series in basketball and so forth. So we're changing, making it appealing and more exciting, more commercialized for the corporate partners and as well as for the fans. We want to have the fans biting their nails, in this concept. This is about entertainment. This is not, that type of football. There's too much of that going around. People need to be more relaxed, especially in this COVID here. You want fun, you want entertainment, and that's what we're giving. We're giving an experience. People coming to see Samuel Eto'o on the field, and some, Yaya Toure and Veron, and, Ronaldinho and those guys. As long as they want to play, we welcome them. And it's not something that we think that if we don't have this player, it's not going to be as big as we want to. We think all players going to come in a row. We have something what we call is a rotation system, where we allow player to come in, play 2 games, go back, do what they're doing, come back again next month, play 2 games, and go back, do what you're doing, that type of thing. But if they will not be playing in different teams, they'll be playing. If you commit and you're playing with the Espanola Manics, if you come back for 2, you come back again and you play for Manics. Okay, so that's what it is. I think it's going to be exciting, and the players are excited. Everybody is disappointed. I myself am disappointed that because we have been at this for so long that everybody's been hearing, well, it's coming, and it happened. Okay, we had 2 years of almost 2 years and a half now with this COVID situation. So very, very, very disturbing for us. But hey, it is what we have to deal with. It's the future. I don't think COVID is going anywhere for a while, so we have to learn to live with it. But we have to also protect the players. One of my key decisions in not pushing to host this in Florida for 2021 is because of the pandemic. I think this variant is very serious, and I think once you're educated enough and you understand how dangerous this thing is, I do not want to be held accountable for the likes of Samuel Eto'o and Dwight York and all these big names who's leaving their family to come and participate in something exciting and nice and contract this virus, and it leads to more deadly result. I couldn't live with myself with that. So consulting with a few people in the medical fraternity, we decided that we are going to back down on this 2021 and we're going to push for 2022. But everything is being put in place right now to execute and implement 2022 season in the summer. I think June 4th.
Don't worry, Cal. Nets will be shaking, and you know what's going to be happening. Once Nets shaking, goals have to be scoring. 2022 Island Cup is coming to you, so you can't miss it. Chris, talk a little bit about the charity games coming up. Island Cup Open is also big on kick poverty out. Broaden that scope there, because that's a serious statement. Kick poverty out.
Well, that was actually the movement and the slogan and the movement, the commitment that really riled everyone up. That really, even myself, really motivate everyone to say yes and participate. It's unfortunate what happened to Haiti there recently, which brought us to say, okay, all right, well, maybe we really should do something to help Haiti raise funds, because Haiti is part of the Island Cup. A lot of the players based in France have already committed to participate in this. And then speaking to some of my colleagues in Haiti and say, Chris, what can you do to help us and whatnot? So, I got on the phone, I started making calls with some of the big names, and they said, they called me uncle. They said, Uncle Chris, look, we're behind you. We 100%. If we have to reduce our fees, we reduce our fees, but we should do something, on the right path. So we have come up with a game plan to do. We are guaranteed one game, but if successful and we see the possibility to do 2, 3, 4 more games, we have a wish list of 4 to 5 games that we have been in discussion for now for a few weeks since after this disaster in Haiti. But I believe that we're gonna focus on one of the games. I'm asked not to say where yet because things are not finalized, but we are in very, very, very deep conversations to pull off the first one around December, between December 4th through the 12th. And I think we will confirm that in upcoming days. And once we get the first one off, and I think, we're going to get another 1 or 2 on, but it's specifically to raise funds for Haiti. We want to do things in Haiti that have never been done before. When you raise funds for Haiti or raise funds for anywhere, you think about, giving cash to the necessary organization on the ground. No, we want to do more than that. We want to get involved. We want to help, build schools. We want to give school books. We want to give, create recreation centers for kids after school care. We want to help people get their life back together. Trying, these days we are in talks right now with a Chinese company to build some quick homes. We want to start with at least 200 homes, start from there and see what we can do, and grow from there. But you have to start somewhere. You don't go from 0 to 100 like that. So we have to start somewhere. And this is the approach that we want to take. We want to do serious charitable commitments. We don't want to just give money out and then it's gone. It's gone with the wind. You don't see where it goes. You don't see the returns on it. You don't see the results on it. No, this is not that type of charity. And we are going to we're going to be more hands-on with the approach that we are taking.
So Chris, it's a lot of highs. I'm hearing a lot of positive stuff. That's fantastic. But over the many years, there must have been one point where you said, is it all worth it? What was that moment that you said maybe to throw in the towel, but you said, no, I can't because, I have to do it for my brothers and sisters? Let me know what your lowest point was, but you're still here. The belief.
Yeah, it's ironic that you asked that question, because I tell you, my wife and I, we are best friends. And she's home in Jamaica now. I'm outside between Toronto and Florida as it is right now. And there's many nights, we will speak before she go to bed and say, honey, I don't think I can do this anymore. Because you have to be aware that you have to sell this to people who actually buy into your own vision, and sometimes it's really hard. I'm out of pocket in this thing personally enough for a lot of money, but it's not about money for me. I've spoken to my kids. As my last daughter would say, Dad, it's our inheritance that you spend in here. Dad, come on. And we joke about it. And I said, you know what? To whom much is given, much is expected. I was blessed, in my career. I'm as a professional, I'm also a forensic auditor. So, making money becomes easy for me. And I think, forget about the difficult moment for me, for myself. But could you imagine the difficult moments of people who is really in need and don't know where the next bread is coming from? Some parents don't know, if their child is going to have breakfast tomorrow morning to go to school, to attend to school. The demands in school nowadays, every day, look, my wife and I, we adopt some kids in Jamaica, and every morning, my wife will get a phone call that, the child needs this, the school is demanding this, and she will have to, go to the ATM machine, draw that money out and make sure that that child gets that, because we make it a commitment. So for me, that is my moment when I realize that, hey, you know what? We need to do this. This is not about competitive football. This is, as a matter of fact, Island Cup is not about football. Island Cup is more kick poverty out. It's more to assist the needy, to assist, as we said, impoverished youth and their family. This is what Island Cup is all about, and I think that's why the players have committed to be part of this project, more so than anything else, because they have played football already. They play at the highest level. They made all the money that they could make, in the game. So I don't think anyone is really motivated with money. I myself, not, because I'm giving back 45% of all my profits, if any profits, back to the community. And I'm taking that on my chest. I'm doing that. I'm not doing this for money. My son told me, Dad, why are you doing this? You're not doing this for money. And when I sat and I explained, he said, okay, yeah, well, that's the father I know. So yeah, to answer your question, there's many times, my sister and I were talking, saying, Chris, I admire you, but I don't know if I could do this. I mean, you were doing this for all these years. You're trying to put this together. You're getting so much pushback from different areas. I don't know why, but it happens. When you do, no good deed go unpunished. So hey, but this is not about me. This is about filling the gap that other agencies fail in doing for one reason or the other. And I think that we could pick up the slack with our vision, and we can change the world one youth at a time, one youth family at a time. And like I said, it's not a Caribbean thing, but hey, I'm from the Caribbean, so charity begins at home. So I want to help the Caribbean first. I want to help Africa. I want to help Asia. I want to help North America. I want to help impoverished, because poverty has no creed, color, or race. Poverty is hell. As simple as that. So if you're only going to if you want to do something, make a difference, like Michael Jackson said, look at the man in the mirror. And I look at myself in the mirror and I said, this have to be done, but this have to be done on a global level. And yeah, it's a challenge. We say we want to eradicate poverty. It's not going to happen overnight. It may not even be done in my lifetime, but at least we have given it a try. We have given it a start, and then someone else will come up with a greater idea, a more impactful idea, and they build from what we have started. So yeah, I'm motivated, and I think I still have the challenge from time to time to say, Chris, you should back down now. Just leave it alone. Maybe this is not for you. But I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep pushing because it's something good that we're trying to do.
Talk a little bit, Chris, about the structure, and just for our viewers, in terms of how many proposed franchises you're looking at. And as you said, it's going to be a 12-week tournament. And the model for the 12 weeks.
Yeah, it's a 12 franchises. I think we have 4 or 5 franchises branded after the Caribbean countries. And we have the rest are all, internationally brand franchise, like the Brazil, the Colombia, Americana North, Espanola Manix, Africa Ubuntu, and so forth. It will be a 3 Cup Championship tournament in the 12 weeks. You have the first 4 or 5 weeks will be the Play 4, which will be hosted in Asia. Then we have the other 7 weeks to be hosted between USA, Caribbean, and possibly Brazil. We already have the confirmed venues in Brazil, so that's confirmed. That was confirmed a year ago. So that is still there, both in Salvador, Rio, and Salvador, Rio, and Sao Paulo. We do think it's $1 million cash prize for each Champion Cup, and the funds will be shared. Any of the teams that won the championship, that $1 million will be shared among the players, and which they will give a portion to their favorite charity. They don't have to give it to Kick Poverty or charity. They can give it to any of their own personal favorite charity. I thought that was the best way to structure it, so players feel that they don't feel compelled to give because they're already taking a pay cut already to be part of the project, in essence. So we felt that it was more motivated for them to give to their own, because most of these players, they already have their own charity. So you have to respect that. But it is financially motivated in that way to create more impact for the charity arm of things as well, whether it's Kick Poverty Out or their own favorite charity. So we have 12 franchises, 3 championships in 12 weeks, $3 million cash prize. All right. What we do think that we will have to improve on as we go along is increasing the cash prize to make it much more attractive and much more commercialized as we go on. But we had to start somewhere, so we started with $1 million cash prize. I think it would be very, very, very intriguing to see who wins the first championship, because the quality of players that's being spread around. Like I was speaking to Dwight York a couple of weeks ago, and he asked me, well, Chris, who was the mark you'd be on my team? I said, well, I already spoken to Samuel, and Samuel said, yeah, he's ready to play. And we were looking at Molino coming in at us and playing alongside that too. And I spoke to Kevin, and he said, as soon as I'm finished with the MLS, I'm coming right in. I would like to play with Samuel. And Dwight was like, well, yeah, I mean, and some other players from Trinidad who are legends who, I've called it a day for participating in the national team program anymore. And he was quite intrigued, and he himself is going to recommend some other players. So I think, for example, French Connection, the names that I'm seeing being signed and whatnot, because I'm not dealing with the players' area of things. I mean, they have its own individual management and dealing. I try not to get involved. I'm just dealing strictly with the finances and the structure and that kind of thing. I'm not trying not to wear too many caps. But from what I'm seeing, it's exciting. It's exciting. It's a beautiful structure, and it's competitive enough. And I think you're going to see some older guys getting really competitive on the field, and with some of the younger lads that we will have participating, who don't participate in the national program anymore, from the region, from Africa, from Asia, and so forth. So you will have older legs, not so old legs, and younger legs. So you're gonna find it very competitive, very balanced.
And we more or less have match fees for the 12 weeks for the players.
Oh yeah. They're signing contracts. I can't discuss salaries, but we have quite a healthy budget for this, because the big names is what we attracted, and everybody cannot come and play the full 12 weeks. But I mean, once we get you in for 1 game, 2 games, that's good enough for us. We take it as we get it.
Cal is a coach in Bermuda, so Cal might be lining up 1 or 2 players to send to you very early o'clock. So I had to make sure that the folks who are listening inside football could be able to get a feel to know, well, hey, Cal is pushing them, but he's pushing them that for 2024 they're playing in the Island Cup Open.
Well, let me put it this way: as long as it passes the blessing of Clyde Best.
I was going to say that. There's no Clyde, I'm not coming.
But Colin, Clyde is going to be very critical. Clyde is he like talent, and if you have the natural talent here, I mean, he's a good guy, and I expect him to be. As a matter of fact, I expect him to be the chair of our player selected committee for the Caribbean region, and ambassador. This is where I like Clyde, the role that I want Clyde to play, because I think, his eye for talent amongst the other people that we will put in to be along with him, would be great.
Yeah.
And of course, I just want to say this, sorry. Our lead ambassador for Island Cup from the Caribbean is Sir Viv Richards, who have already signed with us, and he's been very patient with us with the setbacks with the COVID and whatnot. But so Viv, I just want you to know, we are still pushing, as you know. Your brother Movin, who will be part of the project with the Combined Islands franchise, he was the one that pushed you getting involved, and you said it yourself that this was a good initiative, and you're supporting it. Well, we want that support to continue, and we're looking forward for you playing a very effective role in selling this throughout the region once we start our campaign, which will be in a few months for 2022. Unfortunately, I apologize to the world, to the fans in the Caribbean, whatever, who have been anticipating the kickoff of this in 2021. On behalf of Island Cup, and we have no choice. We have to blame it on COVID, because COVID is really, really the spoiler in this. But I think it's the best decision, because we've seen the surge impact that we have in today in Jamaica and in Trinidad and other markets. Could you imagine that we had this Island Cup project here right now rolling up now, what we would encounter? So other organizations can take the risk. They can do that. They're more established. They've been a long time. They have what I call an open trade revolt to do what they're doing. We can't take that risk, and I wouldn't, not for any kind of money. For me, the players' health is most important. So I think we made the right decision, and now we can, focus on 2022, and pray that, the variants that is about to hit us is not as effective and effective as this, Delta variant is. I think by then most people will be vaccinated. We will meet herds in a lot of the countries that we want to host it, and I think we'll be more edified as to how to dress and deal and protect ourselves against this deadly virus.
Just taking you a little bit from the football, and we're bringing you out to the dugout. We just want to get a little lighter moment of Chris Anderson. So your favorite music, what sort of music you like?
Well, I am a back in time R&B guy, because if you know anything with me, I was a DJ between the age of 12 to 17 and 16 in Trinidad. I was a DJ. Music for me is after football music. Well, cricket was also my first love was cricket. And football became my second love, and then music. But my favorite music really is, I like what we call back then rockers. I like the rockers, the reggae rockers music. That puts me to bed. And second to that would be the R&B soul.
Your top 5 footballers, and I'm going to pique your brain, pique your interest.
Well,
you don't have to call them in. You don't have to call them in any special order.
I would call names that you give or many people give less thought to or don't know. One of my top 5 players in the world that I have seen play the game is a guy from South Africa that I played with, and Pelé played with the New York Cosmos. I played with the Toronto Blizzard for a short time. Is Jomo Sono. Jomo Sono was one of the most skillfulest players that I have seen played this game. My next is always will be Clyde Bess, Ian Rush, and I think I will have to include Michel Platini and Tigana. And last of all, if I might say, Mario Kempes.
All right, bringing you to the modern day era. your top 3 players that you've seen, and we're breaking it down maybe to the last 20 years.
One of the most clinical striker, I'll have to put Dwight York. I call him bound to score. One of the most effective pass of the ball in terms of moving it from one side of the field to the next side of the field complete would be David Beckham. I think David Beckham was one of the best guys in the business that weigh his passes very well and for accuracy. I saw him did it time and time again to Dwight and to Andy Cole. Messi, Lionel Messi, in my opinion, he's a GOAT. He's a GOAT. And I cannot exclude, I'd say in the last, in one of the players that who I became a very close friend of, I think would be, he's no longer with us, is Maradona. I think he was just a beast. On and off the ball, he was just a beast. I think that's it. The players today, the one that I left out that I shouldn't have left out is Zinedine Zidane. And then Zuzi, I think Zuzi was immaculate, you know. And if I'm to add one more to it, if I'm permitted, would be my boy Samuel Eto'o.
When your body is challenged, it burns fuel and energy. Respond to every challenge with Altitude Sports Drink. It replenishes, restores, and prepares you for the next level. Altitude is uniquely formulated with an electrolyte blend and magnesia available in fruit punch, blue frost, and grape. Altitude. Raise your game.
Let me take this opportunity to say how delighted and excited I am to be part of the Island Cup as an ambassador. I'm really looking forward to it. I know it's a great initiative that will give our young footballers in the region an opportunity for them to highlight their product. So I'm really looking forward to it, which will be hopefully happening next year. We know that we are going through some trial times at this particular time with COVID-19. Let me just take this opportunity to say to everyone globally to continue to stay as safe as you can. Also to continue to try and fulfill all the requirements which are on board for you to stay as safe as possible. God bless.
Got you. Now, what about the 2 top leagues? You know, you hear the big talk around. You've got the Italian league. You've got, you name it. The English are boasting that they have the best league in the world. You've been around. You watch football. You watch it from a different view. The 2 top leagues in the world.
2 top league in the world. Well, I guess you're speaking of it from a commercial standpoint, or
Commercial standpoint, yes.
Players on the field.
Yes.
Well, the English Premier League will top it as it is right now. But the Bundesliga is a business machine. The Bundesliga is a business machine. The Premier League as well, and then I would say, for me, the most successful league in the business right now, with the potential to even be twice as successful as it is right now commercially, but don't have the relevant talent on the field to justify that, is the MLS. Because I look at the MLS from a different eye. It's a machine. It's a machine, and it's growing every day. Do not underestimate it. Do not take your eye off it. I'm telling you that that's the most successful business model in modern day professional sport and franchise business.
But somebody has just nudged Cal and myself in the dugout, and they want to know. What they've said is that they know that they're putting you under pressure to start the Island Cup Open. But if there's going to be a women version of the Island Cup Open, whether it's exhibition or whatever, but they want to know if Chris Anderson is thinking about the women.
Well, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. But it's at the executive desk in discussion now. We have engaged Trinidad former captain and her degree in sports acumen right now in the sport right now. She's based in the U.S. Maylie Johnson. We had engaged her to do some research for us and whatnot, and we are considering it. And we're trying to figure out how to fit it in. And again, it's all based on, because there is new emerging women league now that is surfacing, that's popping up here, there, and everywhere. But we don't want to, take away from what they're trying to do. But I think if we have sufficient numbers in terms of recently retired young women who played the sport, to the highest level, I think we will engage, because I think not only is good for the fans and it's good commercially as well. It's good to, in the markets that we're going, to mobilize the game, the females in those markets, to give them that assurance that, you just don't, it's not just about just playing for a national team, there's other viable commercial participation as well, because you would only have the professional women league in certain markets that can sustain that, on a regular basis. So you will still have the Caribbean women who will be struggling, and I hope that some of the ladies are considered to participate in these leagues around the globe, because they do have the talent. When you look at them, the difference with the US dominating the world and the Caribbean, the CONCACAF region, is because they have had the resources, they have had the commitment and the discipline to improve the sport from a woman's standpoint, and they did. And you have to give them kudos for that. But we should learn something from that.
Cal, you got anything from your point for the dugout for Chris?
Yes, for Chris. The Island Cup sounds fantastic. It's going to be great. Would one of your legacies be leaving a better administrative platform for the local grassroots organizations which the players ultimately come from one day, from the school into the community clubs to the national team, then internationally, and also better commercial revenue concepts so that they can grow the game themselves? Maybe not at your level, but that the game domestically in any island can be commercialized more to benefit the players.
I would say that, players development is one thing. Okay, so you develop, you have talent. How do you take the game at a level where players see the viability that they could earn a living from it? I think that's a struggle. That's that. And, they have spoken about doing a Caribbean league for how many years. They were competing with me. They said, well, I'm trying to do a Caribbean. Look, listen, I have no interest in doing a Caribbean professionally, because I know what's involved and what it takes. And we don't have that. So I would say that the powers that be have to focus on, if you want to do a Caribbean professional league, this is free advice. Make commitments for real development in the game. Don't just do a schedule because you get $5 or $10 million from this one or from that one, maybe even 15. Say, well, we'll start a professional league. Listen, it's not going to be viable. We need to first build football specific stadium. And I urge countries that wants to develop the sport, would like to develop the sport further, and want to make it an economy, want to make it part of the economy. Forget building this national stadium. Build a football-specific stadium where it be commercialized exclusively for football. And if you want to do a secondary event in there, well, then you make the adjustment, you tweak it to do that. But it must be a football-specific stadium. Stop building these stadiums that you have a cricket pitch in it. And listen, it's not going to work. It's not professional. It's a joke. And that's why they don't take us serious in the Caribbean. They don't. When you speak about, I promote all the international games, myself and my colleague in Jamaica, Mike Tomlinson. We were the guys I was promoting all the international football in the Caribbean, except for one or two promoters that may come and do one game here, one game. Every month we had an international game. That's how Trinidad and Tobago was able to elevate themselves as a strike squad to qualify for 1990 World Cup, because I was bringing an international team there to play every month, every other month. So they had preparation, okay? That doesn't happen anymore. One is too costly, is not cost effective. All right, and it's not cost effective because where are you going to put them? You're going to put them to play where? In the Queen's Park Oval where there's a cricket pitch. You're going to put them where? So you have to. The government of the day, or private investors say, well, we want professional football, or the CONCACAF or the FIFA, invest into football-specific stadium, and not these mini stadium at 2,000 and 3,000 seats in capacity that you want to call at a stadium, for politics and say, well, you've done this and you've done that. Nonsense. Invest into airline structure. Caribbean issue right now is travel. Spring, as you know, that's the problem. We do not have a reliable shuttle airline system in the Caribbean. How can you speak about professional football if the first thing is travel logistics is a major challenge? And so I would like them to focus on these type of things. If you speak in professional football, that's what you got to deal with first. You address that, you fix that, then we could speak about, doing a professional league in the Caribbean. Other than that, you're a joke. No one. I'm not taking you serious, and no one should. It's simple.
Cal, you heard that? You think you got some land in Bermuda, Cal, so that Chris and myself can come across and this could be an investment for us, Cal.
It could. Bermuda's landmass is small. May have to have a volcano ash and then build up on it. No, but Chris, let's before we wrap it up, 5 years from now, what is Chris going to say to Vernon and I about, remember when we had the first launch of Football Insight, and looking forward to launching the Island Cup after many years. 5 years from now, what is your opening line to us? I told you so, or what is your line?
You mean what is his opening line to you? Because we've been on this journey now, Chris and myself, we've been on this journey now for a long time. And trust me, he get a lot of beating for walking with me. So you now that you have joined, you will also get some beating.
You know what? I may even say, I may even use a line from the great what's his name? Who's no longer with us today now. The guy that sang the song, I Did It My Way.
Frank Sinatra.
Frank Sinatra. And the reason for saying that is a lot of people have come up to me and say, well, why are you doing this? Maybe if you do it that way, do it this way. I said, you know what? Everybody have tried everything different and it have not worked. Because as I keep telling people, the European way of professional football is obsolete. Forget about it. Forget about it. It's not something that would work for us in this part of the world. It's not even working for them on that side of the world. So it's an old model, it's broken. And I urge everybody, take a piece of MLS book. If you want me to write the model for you, I'll write it for you. I'll even do it for you for free because I want the game to change and evolve that much. And I'll say to you that if you do that, you consider that changing the model, you are going to find great success because the game now have evolved. It's totally commercialized now, and you have to have a infrastructure that facilitate commercializing the sport. And that's what's needed. It's no joke why the MLS have been the recipient of such great corporate success. You know, a lot of people very critical of the America this and the America that. Well, I'm here to tell you, this business model is the future. Is the future. And remember, I tell you so. But for the clinical answer that I would give you for what would I tell you in 5 years? Nets will shake. It was always about nets will shake. It will continue to shake because this is going to happen. And I tell you this, and no one can stop it. This was anointed. As Bob Marley said, you know, emancipate your mind from mental slavery. This is what Island Cup is trying to do to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is what Island Cup is bringing. You know, is the future to help our youths, families who is struggling. And again, I want to reiterate, Island Cup is not just about football games on the pitch. We are on a journey to help eradicate poverty in the world. It's important. Much is given, much is expected. And much was given for a lot of us who played the game professionally and who are successful in our own business ventures. We must give back. If this is a platform that we are setting, that we are in control of, to guide our own destiny, to help our own people. And as I said, poverty has no color, creed, or race. It's just poverty. So we have to help everyone, whether you're white, you're black, you're purple, you're green, you're brown, you're yellow. We have to help. This is the rule of the land.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect way to end on a positive note. I'll hand it back to Mr. Springer, who introduced you to myself to close out this first segment of Football Insight. It's been fantastic, and I've enjoyed it because it's allowing us to tell our story unedited, not scripted, the way we want to see the world to see us, and that we're not just the Caribbean, but we are part of the global world of football. So thank you, Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me, and thank the world for listening. And I assure you that this is not the last of Island Cup. You will see me again and hear from me again. Thank you so much.
And remember, nets will shake.
Yeah.